Thoughts on Simon Bennet's tweet over Power Rangers needing to necessarily...
I made the joke about Simon Bennett.
Thoughts on Simon Bennett's tweet over Power Rangers needing to essentially lose needing to essentially lose its Power Rangersness.
We've already clowned on him on the show. I think he doesn't fucking know what he's talking about. Like, I will say, when he tried to cover his ass and come up with an explanation that doesn't make himself look bad, he's like, "No, I'm not saying I was, guys." It's like the other people in like the boardrooms are like, "All right, yeah, you kind of got a point, but like all of your tweets." The man does not know how to write a tweet. The man just does not know how to speak to fans at all. He should not be on PR. He should not be on PR in regards to Power Rangers or public relations.
Oh, yeah.
He shouldn't have been allowed to really talk to fans in the way he was, because he just didn't know what the fuck he was talking about. He as much as he likes to claim, he repeatedly showed that he has just general contempt for the fans, the industry, what he's making, the franchise, just like the genre as a whole. Like, I'm sure he likes Power Rangers as like the brand. Like, he knows Power Rangers the brand, but he probably doesn't actually care about Power Rangers beyond that. Which, I mean, that's fair, I guess, necessarily, because Power Rangers sucks. True. But the point is that he is like a lot of modern creators where they swear up and down that they are big fans. They know what they're talking about. But every single other time they open their mouth, they show that they have open disdain for the fans and the project that they're working on. They wish they could be doing anything else.
It's kind of sad.
In regards to this specific tweet where he's saying it should lose its Power Rangers, it's no, it shouldn't, because then it's just generic superhero slop. Once you start losing, like, the Sentai stuff, once you start losing, like, the unique blend of the Japanese stuff with the American stuff, it's just generic. It just becomes every other shitty ripoff show from the 90s. If you get rid of the Sentai stuff, if you get rid of what makes Power Rangers, what makes Sentai, what you get is, like, fucking Mystic Knights of Tir na Nog. You get nothing. You get a show that's boring as fuck with nothing interesting going on.
I think the issue, and I mentioned it as well, and I'll even like semi paraphrase what I said, and it's the fact that, like, the issue for me is you cannot tell me that you want the best for Power Rangers when all you want is to just break it down from what it is, because that's not how you do any of this. It's the exact same shit. And Jay said the same thing. It's the exact same fucking shit that's happened to pretty much everything that everyone's always, I was a big fan of this when I was a kid. It's like, no, you fucking weren't, because if you were, you wouldn't be trying to do this shit. You would know what fans would want. But apparently you don't know what fans want, because all you're going to do is just change it from something that doesn't need to be changed. It's fucking... To put it concisely, you're not helping anybody but your own ego by doing what you wanted to do with this. And the fact that Power Rangers ended because of this guy, more than likely, it's just catharsis for me at that point. This weird contempt he had for this, you know? Like, this weird contempt that he had for, like, just Power Rangers in general. Like, what did he expect to do when he came into this fucking series?
Like, when he came out later, when he posted the big laundry list of, like, here are the things that Hasbro wanted us to do or not to do, and I'm like, these are all supposed to be bad things that they want you to do? Like, these are all, like, it's like, oh, we want to do this, but it's like, yeah, but you still could have done this, you could have done that instead. Like, a lot of it was just, like, the usual Twitter pandering bullshit that they didn't want them to do, which is surprising that the big corporation didn't want to do that. But not to get into that topic, I like looking at his list of, like, the shit they didn't want us to do. I'm like, Power Rangers has already been doing that shit since fucking it went over to Nick. Nothing has changed. How is this Hasbro's fault? You can't blame them, because you're the fucking guy who's been in charge this whole time. This is already the shit you've been doing. You can't blame somebody else for the shit you've already been doing.
When I read this quote, I just knew this guy he has no idea what he's talking about. And this is directly from Simon Bennet, by the way. I think, and this is only my opinion, that to reach a large mainstream audience, the franchise has to move away from its tokusatsu roots. It's this that has kept Power Rangers niche for so long with U.S. audiences. It needs to do this in a way that is fresh and compelling. And all I gotta say is, what do you say to that when you have fucking Ultraman and Godzilla in the fucking corner?
Exactly.
Ultraman and Godzilla have never compromised their fucking wackiness. If anything, Legendary Godzilla is probably the most wacky we've ever had Godzilla since the fucking 70s. So you can't give me that bullshit of Tokusatsu is too niche and weird to make it mainstream. Because motherfucker, I can point to isn't Ultraman so popular in America that they made its own American-made fucking anime series for Netflix? I don't know about you, Mr. Bennett, but I think to me, that tells me that you're fucking wrong. That what's keeping Power Rangers niche isn't because it's Tokusatsu and it's weird. It's because it fucking sucks. That's why I guarantee more people know about what the new Kamen Rider is than what the new Power Rangers is.
And just bring up Godzilla again. We just talked about it. Look at Godzilla -1. That's made how much fucking money? Normal people who don't give a shit about Godzilla or any of the shit how we're seeing this movie and talking about how fucking great it is. Like, this movie is doing gangbusters and it's done nothing different at all than any of the other Godzilla movies have done. It is very much core to the Godzilla formula. It revels in its identity, in its history. And that pretty much blows the fuck out of his entire statement. Even before that, we had Shin Ultraman and Shin Kamen Rider that came out within this year, that fucking blew that sentiment out of the fucking water. That proved that he was full of shit. So even then, like, I don't know what he's fucking
I think it's even worse, though, is like this one quote that I have here that it's almost even more insulting in hindsight. Again, this was directly from Simon Bennet. To attract a sizable mainstream audience in the U.S., a process of cultural translation is required to Americanize the show. This is what Power Rangers has been doing for 30 years. No, Americanizing the show is not necessary for us to fucking enjoy it. You want a fucking perfect example of that? Look at Squid Game. Nobody gives a shit that it's Korean as fuck. It's a good show. That's the whole fucking problem. Like, you can't sit here and tell me that we need to Americanize things for people to enjoy it. Is Godzilla King of the Monsters Americanized? No, not really.
Well,
it's in America, but it's still Godzilla. Is Shin Ultraman and Shin Kamen Rider Americanized? No, and they made fucking gangbusters. Is Godzilla -1 Americanized? Oh, absolutely not. And look how money it's made.
It is very much definitely
and
not
look how much money it's making in America. So I don't give a shit what anyone says. You don't need to take away its roots or make it more mainstream. All that's gonna do is just make you seem fucking desperate. To try and make something more mainstream is to try and be more desperate about it. That's exactly what happens with Brave New World from Iron Maiden and the fucking half of Metallica's fucking discography since the late 2000s. Like, all of this shit, trying to make it more mainstream, doesn't make it more mainstream. It makes people think, you're just changing what we already enjoyed about it to begin with to appeal to random Joe Schmoes.
It shows that you're greedy and that you don't actually really care about what you're making. So then what you do is you destroy the core audience that you've already built up, and now you're lower than you were. But I think the short version is, like AJ said, like, the key to making it catch on more is not to Americanize it. It's not to strip it away from Tokusatsu. It's not to remove the Sentai from it. It's just to stop fucking sucking, guys.
Pretty much.
I get it. You don't have a whole lot of fucking money to make these shows. I know, like, fuck, I remember during the Disney era, you guys barely had money to hire a writer. One. I remember that. I remember that shit. But, like, they still tried. Like, I'd rather watch Jungle Fury or Operation Overdrive or any of the fucking Disney era shows other than, like, beyond any of the fucking Post-Saban or any of the Hasbro shit, because they're just that fucking bad, dude.
You know what? I hate to even use this word unironically, and I know Jay's gonna get it. The Disney era at least had fucking soul. It had soul to it. Was it good? No, but you know what?
No.
I would rather, and I know this is going to sound really insane to you people, I would rather watch the absolute insane bullshittery that is Operation Overdrive over the inane fucking boredom that is Ninja Steel. I would rather do that.
Operation Overdrive was terrible, but at least they were trying to do something. And for the most part, they accomplished something unique. Unique doesn't mean good,
No.
but at least it stood out. At least it was like its own thing that still used the Sentai and the Tokusatsu elements to tell a unique story. What the fuck does Ninja Steel have? Ninja Steel barely fucking has anything to do with its own premise. Which, to be fair, using the ninja, you're already fucking kneecapped there to begin with.
Pretty much.
And then
But,
you
like-
start trying to force in fucking shit from the fucking comics, which are all awful.
Ugh. Don't get me started on the fucking Morphing Master.
But see, that's
bullshit
the worst part about it too,
Dino
though, right?
Charge.
It's like,
Fury,
but that's the worst part
whatever
about
the
it too,
Dino
right?
Fury.
How can you fucking stand there and have the chutzpah to fucking tell me that you're trying to make it more mainstream by introducing shit from comics that I guarantee not even half of the people who watch the show have read.
Like, no, if you want to put shit in from the comics, like, to make it sell, fucking do Draken, dude. Like, people are still fucking talking about him. He sucks. He's lame. But he made a shit ton of money for them, and he got a lot of attention when he first came out. Why the fuck didn't we just put him in the show? Like, there's your fucking meal ticket. You don't have to do all this
There's
other
your
really
25th anniversary.
fucking, like, exactly. Like,
Would have been better than once and always.
instead of fucking dragging Zed out and beating his corpse literally and figuratively, just fucking bring that dude in if we're gonna bring in shit from the comics, or like, fuck, do anything interesting.
And that's the thing too, like, yeah.
Like, that's the problem. Like, that's really what it is that, like, it's just nobody gives a shit what they're working on. Like, I know this has never been really confirmed, but, like, I know a lot of, like, the direction and the actors just, like, have no fucking emotion because that is just what they want. That is what the directors want. That is what the crew want.
But that doesn't
You
tell
know?
a good story. That just is going through the motions.
Exactly. Like that's really the takeaway, is that, like, just fucking care. Just actually care. Don't pretend to care for attention. Fucking get somebody who gives a shit to write. It doesn't have to be that good. You just have to have somebody who cares.
If you give them a little bit of bone and you give them some care, you'll get results. That's what we're trying to
Passion
say.
goes a long
is
way.
that you'll get results. Exactly. You want you know what fans want? They want competent stories, they want good characters that have arcs, and they want good stories. That's what they want.
And even then, like, your core audience are going to be kids. Like, kids don't care about whatever pandering to the fan base you're doing on Twitter, you know, in any
Mature
regards.
themes.
Exactly. Like, kids don't want this, like, fucking mature themes and this, like, dark. Like, you can make it dark and interesting. That's fair. But, like, kids don't care about, you know, so and so getting his arm cut off, or so and so, like, bringing so and so old character back and having them become a ranger or whatever. Like all this anniversary stuff is fine. You can do that, but, like, that doesn't make the show interesting. That doesn't make kids give a shit. Kids don't care about whatever the fuck nonsense you're spewing, or all this, like, comic pandering or pandering to the fans on Twitter or doing all this whatever fuck shit. Kids just want to see cool stuff. Like, just fucking make the show, like, interesting. And, like, pick a show that has interesting toys to sell, and these shows will do fine. Like, that's not what, like, that's the problem, is that, like, these shows are being made for the fucking losers on Twitter who also don't actually care about it, but they like the pandering the shows are doing to them. And so it just creates a feedback loop of, like, well, nobody's buying it because the people who are being marketed to aren't going to buy it anyways. And the kids don't care. And that's your core audience there. So whatever the fuck. And, like, these shows, again, like, in the attempt to make it more mainstream and palatable, you have destroyed your audience.
Exactly. And again, it goes back to the idea that really what people want is something that feels passionate, that has soul in it at the end of the day. You know what? You can't, people can't even throw it to me like kids won't care about the stories and all that. Because you know what, kids, there's a lot of people that were kids when Time Force came out, and people still love that fucking show. Because it wasn't this complex fucking 7 inches deep fucking story that only adults could understand. No, it was deep and mature enough for kids and adults to both understand, just enough where you can enjoy it, and it's still fucking enjoyable to this day. So no, none of this bullshit of mature themes. Like, no, motherfucker, you don't need to make it more mature. You know what it tells me when your most mature thing is getting someone's arm cut off? That just tells me you went to fucking writing school in fucking DeviantArt 2007. Like, that's bullshit. I'm sorry. That's not mature. That's just, oh, look, someone got their arm chopped off. All right. That's the same thing as Gunshot Fade to Black. Fucking shut up. And again, I think my main point, though, besides what we're talking about, is just it's the absolute arrogance of being able to say, oh, well, I have to do this for the American audience because they wouldn't understand the Japanese stuff. When one of the most popular Kamen Rider series of all time in America is Kamen Rider Gaim. Possibly one of the most Japanese-centric shows they've ever done.
It's a weird case of, like, weird racism. Like, anti-Asian racism, where, like, we need to get rid of all of the Asian elements to make the show okay for Americans, when in the reality is that, like, what they're doing is that they're making, like, it for their buddies on Twitter, and that's about it. And, like, again, like you said, like, the most popular writer show in America is Gaim, which is Japanese as fuck. Like, Godzilla, again, all the Ultraman stuff and all the Godzilla stuff is still Japanese as fuck, and that's huge. The most recent one is literally a fucking war drama about Japanese soldiers in World War II, and that's made fucking $250 million within, like, the first week and a half. And it's gonna get more than that, too, by the time where it's out of theaters. So it's not just, like, you don't need to Americanize it. You just need to make it fucking good. And when you say you need to Americanize it, you're just saying you want to get rid of all the ideas that you think are problematic because you think it's a bad part of their culture that they need to get rid of. It is, again, like, I feel like a fucking douche saying it's racism, but that's really what it is. It's racism, plain and simple.
When one of your fucking series was samurai themed, which is so Japanese, it's basically a culture. It's basically a part of their own culture. How can you say, "Oh, we're going to Americanize it" when you have that?
Dude, even Samurai, like, treated the material better. I mean, that stripped a lot of shit out, but Samurai at least tried. Like, look at where all the other shows went from that. Like, after Samurai is really when they started, like, doubling down on, like, really trying to strip out the Sentai-ish elements. I think that's really when, like, Saban, too, checked out, and it just kind of became, like, all of the other peons in charge, too. Like, I mean, fuck it. As much as I hate the man, as much as evil as he is, at least Haim Saban tried to give a shit.
Even when he was trying to screw Gene Simmons over.